Hello, the testing of item of focus we will be discussing in this video is excluded testing, or otherwise known as non-discretionary testing. Opposite from other membership testing items we've discussed in past videos, which all focus on why an account is in a composite for specific periods of time, this testing is basically opposite. It's really looking for why given accounts are not in a composite as of a specific date. Based on the structure of your organizations, there's a long list of different possibilities for why an account should not be included in any of your composites, ranging anywhere from violations in composite rules, such as asset sizes and significant cash flow policies, all the way to short and/or long-term restrictions that the client has put on their accounts. During this video, we're not going to hit on all possible reasons an account could be excluded from a composite, but rather discuss some general observations to support the exclusion of accounts as of specific dates. So the purpose of excluded testing is to give the verifier comfort that all of your composites include your discretionary fee-paying portfolios, which is a requirement of all GIPS compliant firms. The verifier is able to do this not just by testing the various membership policies we discussed it in other videos, but also to test your definition of discretion. So what makes an account discretionary versus what does not make it discretionary. The verifier is looking to pull a sample of these accounts, and how they're doing this is taking a list of all accounts that fall within your defined firm, but are not in a composite as of the specific end date, typically end of the year if they're doing an annual verification for your organization. This is very focused on the definition of discretion, which we have a sample here on the screen from a policies and procedures. This section outlines why an account would not be included in a composite and gives some specific examples for some client mandated restrictions that your organization deemed to be material, requiring the accounts to be out of the composite. So if we focus on some of these bullet points here, these are just a few examples that this sample policy indicates would require an account to be out of a composite. If an account is out of a composite for one of these specific reasons, the purpose of this testing will be to generate support and documents for how they are violating that rule, and therefore it is appropriate to leave that account out of a composite as has been done. Some of the standard requests to support this are contract and investment guidelines, especially if those contracts show any restrictions documented to why that account is non-discretionary, as well as fee schedule. Fee schedule supports maybe some other considerations that make this account non-discretionary, such as if it's not paying a fee and the organization has defined non-fee paying accounts as being non-discretionary. If the restrictions on a given account are not documented in the contract, we will need to produce some other files to support those restrictions. So whether that's internal notes in like a Salesforce or other CRM systems, emails, or just internal memos noting these restrictions are all documents the verifier is looking for. In addition to these documented restrictions, the verifier will also look to some transaction summaries and appraisals to support that those restrictions are indeed in place as of a specific date. So let's think of one of the examples from the prior slide of an account having over 10% restricted securities as a rule to be kicked out of a composite. Well, if the verifier is testing an account that we say has Microsoft restrictions that we cannot sell, and that position is above 10%, they're going to look for one, the documented restrictions your organization has maintained to support that is indeed a restriction. And two, they're going to look to the appraisals that Long's Peak has downloaded to support that Microsoft restriction is indeed above 10%, as that's going to support the definition of discretion in the policies and procedures. So some standard requests that come from the verifier and provided to you by Long's Peak outline some hierarchy of preferred support and how we can document and support various restrictions that are going on. Again, the verifier is going to be flexible as far as what shape or form this support comes over to them, as long as we can give them a paper trail that clearly outlines a restriction that is in place as of a specific date, and that those restrictions can be supported by asset allocations, holdings, and transactions and trades being done for that account. So as you can see here, there are various items that we can provide as long as it is clear and obvious what those restrictions are, and we can communicate that to the verifier. will get us through this testing item of a given verification. If you have any specific questions on excluded or non-discretionary testing, please feel free to reach out and we'd be happy to discuss in more detail.